Hey, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of the Rich and Turbo Heavy Half Hour. My name is Rich. Find me on all the socials at rich.paiva, occasionally on X at Fuzz Doom Rip. Oh, doing reviews from Wikipedia of Metal and the Doom Charts contributor. I also have my friend and colleague Turbo with me. Turbo, how you doing?
I'm just here for the abuse.
That's what I appreciate. Every now and then we need a whipping boy, and here you are to play that role for me, and me to blame all my technical issues on. When we all know whose problem it really is. We're very excited to have all the way from Australia Tim Coutts-Smith with us from Jack Harlon and the Dead Crows. Um, People who know the band might think that Jack Harlan's an actual living dude. Um, I have now found out, as I've communicated with Tim, that Tim is the mastermind behind this band. And there's a whole story behind Jack Harlan and everything that goes into it. So we're going to talk about that. And I want to welcome Tim to the show. Tim, how are you doing?
Hey, thanks, Rich and Turbo. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm really good. Um, Album's coming out in a couple weeks, so it's yeah, getting the heart pumping.
We're excited. The new record is called Inexorable Opposites, comes out on February 6th on Magnetic Eye. Shout out to Jad and the Magnetic Eye crew. Um, and Turbo and I have had a chance to spend some time with the record, and there was a lot of fire emojis being passed back and forth. So congratulations on it. It's killer. I think some of the bio that I was reading that it's some of your heaviest and some of your quietest work that you've done. Tell us a little bit about record number 4, if you don't mind.
Yeah, this one we really just did whatever we wanted, and we let it take as long as it needed. And like halfway through the process, I was thinking, I don't know if anyone's gonna understand this album. This is really unconventional even for us, and I don't know that the doom stoner community, there's probably some songs and parts in there that'll challenge us, in there. But, as the recording went on, it it just sort of started sounding a bit more like a Harlan record. So I don't really know what it sounds like at this point in time, but if you like it, that's good.
We do. I think when I listen to it, the sound to me is kind of the fullest that I get from a record on a lot of the songs, and then the closer is that kind of to die is that kind of quiet piece that I think people are referencing. So I know one of the things in reading some of the promo material is that you did drums differently this time with a different drummer and how they were recorded. Was that a big part of kind of this bigger sound that we're hearing?
Yeah, I think in a way it was, and it was part of it was a more challenging part to record too. So, like in the past, we've just done everything at home or in the bedroom and just hoped for the best. And I think this time I just wanted to do the drums well. So we got an engineer on board for this one, someone that our drummer has worked with before. The producer's name's Lewis Noki Edwards. He's done lots of heavy stuff here in Melbourne. So just more certainty for me, like just knowing that we've got the drum tracks are really well recorded. There's nothing wrong with them, and then I can mix them from there. So yeah, it did have a big impact on the sound at the end, and I I think it ended up sounding better after a month of just losing my mind trying to figure out how to mix them. So it all worked out for the best in the end.
Is this the album that you spent the most time worrying or thinking about I guess, the recording process or like sonically what the final product was or is?
Yeah, well, funnily enough, like, this is the least I've had to think about that with how it sounds, because like, by the 4th album, you can kind of know how to make roughly what sounds you want. With the first few albums, I didn't have very good mixing, ear, or I didn't know how to get the sounds I wanted, so it would take a lot longer in that sense. So, the recording and the achieving the sounds that we wanted on this record that wasn't too bad. Like, the drums were hard to mix, but, the thing that took the longest was more we were just patient with the writing process. Nothing was forced. It was just wait for the good parts to come out and put them down sort of a thing. So,
Love it.
yeah.
Turbo, I know you and I have spent some time with this, and we've talked a little bit about the record. But what questions do you have for Tim to start?
Well, my first listen through, when I got to the song "Dave is Done," I realized that it seemed like this album has a lot of early Monster Magnet influence on it, which I love. And I was curious if Dave is Done was like a shout out to Dave Wendorf from Monster Magnet. And then I watched the video for it, and I'm like, um, I almost felt like you were describing my life. So, uh, which is not really
That's
great.
rough.
So, yeah, I was just curious about that, how the sound came about and everything, if it was the influence was there from Monster Magnet, or is that just a
Yeah.
coincidence or what?
Well, no, yeah, that actually someone else had said that to me about the Monster Magnet reference, and I'm not an avid Monster Magnet fan really, so that's actually pushed me to go back and listen to that, and I think I can understand the link, but yeah, strangely, that wasn't influenced by that. Um, Dave, I think the sound of it was like just when we'd sound check and whatever, if we'd be in drop D, I would just be hitting that. Like the start of the song is just this finger picked boom, boom, bam, 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 this drony kind of thing. And I always was like, oh, I've gotta like write that into a song. It's such a nice sound. And I think I was listening to like Show Me the Body at the time or something real hardcore. And I wanted to make my own version of that. And so that's what the sound is. And the story is about like to make it short, I on the side of music, I do social work and mental health work for musicians, and that
That's
song
cool.
is more or less just about me going back and forth with this fella with a terminal illness, and just him coming to terms with dying young, which is a bit rough, but yeah, I don't know. It's probably one of the rawest songs on
That's
that
a
album.
beautiful song. Yeah.
I'm glad you see it that way. Yeah.
And I think generally we would never ask questions about like what you do outside of a music project, but specifically because it is mentioned in the bio, I wanted to ask you about that because some of the details around like the songs and the writing were influenced by what you're doing outside and working on the mental health side of things. So tell us a little bit about that, if you don't mind, if you're comfortable talking about what you do with that, because I feel like that's a very kind of cool way to bring this record together and kind of get a better understanding of where it's coming from.
Yeah, yeah, I got no problem talking about that. So that's sort of what's run adjacent to this project since I started it is when we kicked off 10 years ago, I've always worked in various mental health roles and outreach and just working with people. And so if you can imagine, I'm writing this concept sort of record about a Western landscape, this fantasy record back ages ago. And then I'm also working with these such interesting stories every single day, and these stories that people will probably never hear. And then just naturally, I started thinking, well, I want to give them a voice and like give them different names, give them different characters, and put them into this Western universe. And that just sort of became a theme. If there was unheard people or people that had passed away that I just wanted to put a bit more into the universe, I'd write a song about them, and that just sort of caught on, like not all our songs are like that about that sort of thing, but every now and then if I witness a story or I'm part of something that I think needs to be put into that world, I'll put it on a record. Yeah.
I love that. And I love Turbo's explanation of the being it a beautiful song because you don't necessarily see this record, see the album cover, hear the fuzziness of a lot of the songs and some of the heaviness and say that this could be a beautiful thing. But bringing that kind of into this whole thing and getting the context of it, I think kind of takes this record to a kind of a different level of what you're putting out in the universe, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that I really like that because that's sort of what I hope the listener will will feel as well. Like we are on the outside, we are a heavy band, but that's why I really wanted people to listen to the lyrics on this one. There are some really, I don't know, sensitive sort of areas on there where I've opened up a bit, and that's what I was hoping the listener would take from that as well, you know? Look inward a bit when you listen.
Yeah, it's deep. And closing an album with a song at like "To Die" is a pretty deep thing. And I'm wearing a Stone Jesus shirt today because and it just is a kind of a coincidence because their last record they did something similar to that with a song called "Quicksand," where it was like the a different style, but it was like him like and the way that Igor explained it, like just kind of throwing stuff in his head that he never would put out there into the world, into the public. And I kind of correlate that to the song "To Die," and when people hear the record, they'll understand. Um, that's a different type of Jack Harlan song, right? So, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about that one because that's it's a really heavy in a different way to end a record, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that Stone Jesus sort of, um, reference there, that's a good way to put it, of me writing stuff and just throwing stuff out that I never thought, like, I'd put on a record. Like, that song actually was never gonna be a Jack Harlan song. It was in 2021 or something, or 2022. I just had this rainy night where I was in my room just with a drone machine playing and a guitar hooked up with all these strange effects. Like, there's a lot of effects in that song that sound synthy, but they're actually guitars just running through lots of weird stuff. And I did multiple takes. I think I did like 10 takes of this song just for fun. And I thought this doesn't even sound like Jack Harlan. And it sort of started morphing into this hymn, like not a hymn, but like just a song about people saying goodbye at a funeral. And I don't know, like I sort of found that old, I found the session for it when we were figuring out what was going to be on the record, and I just thought I have to put this on here. You know, it's um, slightly different sounding to our other stuff, but I just had to do it, and
It,
here it is.
and the record is better for it. I think people are going to really, and I think if that's one of the ones you're concerned about, like the stoner doom community kind of being a little bit confused about. I think, I mean, I can speak for Turbo and I and for other people who we speak to. That's the kind of thing that makes records special at this point because we hear the riffs, we hear the fuzziness, and we love all that stuff. But when you throw something like that into the mix, I think it makes that record stand out as something special. So congrats on that because I think that's an excellent move. Turbo, what
And
else you
music
got
to
for?
my ears, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, it's absolutely the way that spending a lot of time with this the last few days since we've gotten the promo. Turbo, what else you have for Tim?
So, is this a continuation of Jack Harlan's adventures, and is this like people he's met along the way, or is this not part of the story at all?
And before you answer that, for the people who might not know, if you can give a little bit of background on Jack Harlan and then tell us a little bit about what Turbo was asking you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good lead up, actually. I think so. For the people who aren't familiar, the band is a concept band about, like I was saying, like a Western universe, and the main protagonist of that is Jack Harlan, and I'm Tim, who plays in the band. But that sort of is how this album is a good example of how through the years both of those sides have just amalgamated and come together. So like I yeah, the most of the ones in our early album, that they're stories in the Jack Harlan universe, and then as the albums go on, there's a few stories from my real life and not in the Harlan universe that sort of creep in. And now we're at this record, and it's sort of like 50-50. If not, it's more just stories from my life not set in that universe. But there's still some left, like Sia, the song that I think is out today. I think it just came out. That's a story from the Harlan universe. That's actually uh, a follow up, like lyrically, that's a sequel to a song called Painter in the Woods on our second album. So that's sort of uh, yeah, if you read the lyrics, the protagonist from that has developed into this other character and entity, and here he is. This is his update now. So yeah.
That's very cool.
Cool.
I love the continuation kind of story thing. But the other thing that, and Turbo will probably appreciate this, but like the Jack Tim dynamic, right? Like, Turbo is and he turned me on to even being more of a huge Alice Cooper fan. Like at some point, Alice Cooper, the band turned into Alice Cooper, the person, and there was like this whole thing. Do you like, are you like, is it an alter ego? Is it a kind of morphing of those two things now with this record, or am I just overthinking that whole thing?
No, you're right. Actually, in our earlier days, the alter ego on stage was a lot more intense because I get it more boozed up and stoned and stuff. So it was actually quite intense at the start, and I'd be a real wild cowboy. So that's why I say to people, I never want people to feel bad about thinking I'm Jack Harlan because half the time I kind of have been. Uh, yeah, and it's actually in the inverse, really. Like as time's gone on, I'm less of that character on stage. I still am sometimes. There's a bit more Tim on stage telling the story. But you're right.
You know,
It's an
this
alter
Alice
ego.
Cooper, Ziggy Stardust thing going on with Jack and in that
Yeah.
altered universe. Um, and I think Turbo always asks some really good questions just about the visual aspect of it. Did this story come from, or the beginning of Jack Harlan come from like a concept in your head, something that was written, or how did the whole story begin?
Man, I don't know. Like, it has been a concept from the start. I remember when I was starting to smash a lot of truck fighters and like Red Fang and Um, yeah, I must have been. I want to make my own stoner doom band, and I want it to be Western. And well, I guess maybe that's the thing. I was in another band at the time. This band, when it started, was just a side project that was just weird and wacky. Like it was. It's no surprise it's a Western cowboy album because the name's convoluted. All the band members were called strange things like lightning bolts and Richardson and that. It was absolutely covered in lore at the start, and now it's sort of dissipated a bit. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's on purpose, or it just kind of has morphed into that. Was there, is there a, have you made a conscious effort to move away from more of the sci-fi kind of story and be more of this kind of Tim telling stories, or has it just kind of organically happened that way?
Yeah, there was no intention. It just happened organically, and I think that's why there's still some Harlan stories in that universe on the record and not because 'cause I've just been doing whatever works, following the soul. If I wants to write, a Jack Harlan song or a Tim song, it'll do it.
Love it. Um, your last record from 2023, and I was listening to a little bit of this today because I always like to talk to bands that I haven't spoken to before, and we always like to talk about um, things like influences. And I assume that the record with a lot of the covers called Heavily Underground is not just songs that you like, but also bands that maybe have influenced your sound or influenced your writing or influenced how what you play today. And yeah, you're all over the place on that record in in a really good kind of way. You know, anything from the Melvins to My Bloody Valentine to Bauhaus to Hambone Willie Newburn. Are you? Is that your listening too? Your listening experiences and your influences are kind of like all over the charts here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I it's strange, the common denominator of it all really is fuzz at the end of the day. I mean, there's some, bands and records on that album that don't use fuzz, but that's what tied everything together that made me so multi-genre-able at the start was just, like, I cared about the tone before I knew about the community or anything, so I just follow that, and if you're following fuzz, man, it's gonna pop up in the 50s, or the 60s, it's just gonna rock up in all these strange ways, so I guess that's what's led to everything looking so broad, really.
I think nowadays it's funny because like when I was growing up and if you liked the Melvins and you liked Bauhaus, you were probably some kind of deranged weirdo because there were the goth kids
Yeah.
and there were like the metal kids and the grunge kids. So, but then nowadays I think there's a little bit more of that kind of understanding how that all connected. I think Turbo had just created a really good playlist of like 60s and 70s songs that are like the what he thought were like the beginning of kind of the stoner
The
fuzzy
influence
scene,
on it.
which is
Oh,
I
yeah.
think share that with him. I think that would be very just kind of like-minded there. But
Mhm.
any particular albums from that you would call out as some of your favorites that kind of molded what Jack Harlan is at least?
Yeah. Oh, well, um, Smashing Pumpkins, massive for me. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that until I say it, and then you listen to Jack Harlan, you just go, "Oh, there's so much Billy Corgan going on in this." They're kind of the main spine of everything I do in Harlan. What else?
Can we have a conversation about Smashing Pumpkins? Because
Mm.
and I'm going to say this as a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan of the first two records.
Yeah,
And
cool.
then
Yeah.
I get a little lost, and my buddy Jeremy, whose favorite record of all time is Melancholy, I just think it's just there are some gems on there, but it's just so bloated. It's just a
Yeah.
lot. It's just a lot. So where are you coming from in that? Are you like a Billy all the time fan, or are you a early Billy fan, or are you a what are your thoughts on that? Because I'm always interested when people think about the Pumpkin because they're pretty polarizing, I think.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm an early Pumpkins fan for sure, like Gish and Siamese Dream and all that era. That's really what I'm mainly focused on. But I love Melancholy and Infinite Sadness too. Like, that's a double record, right? That's huge.
It feels like it's a quadruple record when I listen to it. It feels like it just goes on forever. But
Like, you know when you listen to an album and there'll be 1 or 2 songs where you're like, "Hell no, I'm skipping that every time I do it." And then over time, you get used to the rest of the album and you go, "Alright, I'll give that song a go," and it gets better. I've, over the years, done that with Melancholy, and slowly all the gaps have been filled, like, even the weird ones, like Lily My One and Only and Good Night, I've just come to find something that I love about 'em. So I love that whole record front to back. Not so much like Smashing Pumpkins' newer stuff, mainly because of how the vocals are recorded. I don't wanna be too mean to Billy Corgan, but, like, that early Pumpkins stuff, he's just blowing his voice out and all the mic is so saturated and, Butch Vig did such a good job, and ever since Oceania, it's like his vocals it just sounds like when you watch a movie and there's the director's commentary? It feels like he's just doing a commentary over the music. "Now we're rocking. Here's the next bit." So yeah,
oh,
it's
I
still
get it.
good.
It the it's really funny that you say that. The first two records to me are untouchable. Just like I don't even know where that comes from. How especially Gish was just a life changing record and how I listen to stuff. Um, but yeah, it's that's funny. And my buddy just got like the box set of all the B sides of the Melancholy record, and there were some really cool and
Yeah.
weird things that he decided to do, like chunky guitars and riffs and things that you don't hear on Melancholy that wind up being, just
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
a just like you hear the genius in that. And when he's not editing himself that way to make like this big kind of monster mainstream success selling record, there's still a lot in there, I think.
Yeah, that B-side record, there's some doom on there, man, like, the that song, "The Aeroplane Flies High," is so heavy. We used to cover that a bit,
Oh,
just
cool.
because it's such a rip, and it's by Pumpkin. It's unreal. Highly recommend if you haven't heard "The Aeroplane Flies High."
Yeah, Billy invented everything. There was I watched an interview with him the other day or recently where he said, "Oh, I heard the riff for Smells Like Teen Spirit, and they stole that from me, and they stole the tone from me." And I'm like, "Oh, Billy, just take your wins, Billy. You're still alive. You're still putting records out. Take your wins. Other people did stuff
Yeah.
too.
He stole
Anyway,
everything from Rush anyway, so he can't complain.
there you go. Exactly. Turbo, what else do you have for Tim?
I was. Have you noticed have you done any touring lately? And are you touring with this new drummer? Have you noticed a difference in how some of the earlier stuff sounds with him, or does he fit in pretty good?
That's a great question. Yeah, well, touring, we're about to go on an Australian tour. I've got to put the poster out for it, but we're going to do a launch for that record on the 6th when it comes out, and then just head up the East Coast and the South Coast of Australia, trying to make some money to get across to Europe. But in terms of the drummer, yeah, he's such a different style to Josh, who's been our drummer since the start, where Josh was such a like tidy drum and bass kind of drummer. Like everything's really fast and all together. And Braden, our new drummer, he's just a flat out doom drummer. Like he's in a bunch of heavy bands. So he's just got these big rolling, he just hits the hell out of the drums, and not as on the grid, kind of has this really nice flow to how he drums. So when we tried him out, he actually really made a lot of our earlier songs sound the way that they were supposed to. Like the song Magnetic Ridge, when he played that, I was like, oh, right, this is what I was going for. Like that big kind of riding the ride cymbal thing. So yeah, it's been unreal with him. He's very capable. Close
That's
enough
awesome.
to Josh, but different enough to have his own thing.
Get Turbo, sorry.
Any chances of recording live on this tour?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, well, there's a fella that comes and records nearly all of our live shows. He's got a YouTube channel called Riff Crew. And YouTube just hides him from the algorithm. But that's a hidden gem of so many Australian Australian live bands. You can find some unreal stuff on there. But long story short is he generally will film and record any set that we have, and he'll send it to me and say, is this one good? Do you want to mix the audio? So yeah, that has been on our radar. We were going to do, all right, let's do a live record for this particular gig on one of our past tours. But the pressure was weird. Like knowing that it's a live record, I couldn't get into the flow that much. And the best stuff comes out when you just know some guy's recording every show and you're going to go, oh, that was a good one, and put it out. So, yeah, that's going to happen. It's just going to be when the set's good enough. If you look really hard, there's a YouTube video that says it's called Massacre on High Street Hill, I think. And that's actually a live Jack Harlon record. It's pretty hard to find too. So I think it's called that, Massacre on High Street Hill.
All right. I'm turning my body to type that into Google right now so I can save that for later. We definitely want to hear that. Do you, I know there's recording and there's playing live, and there, do you guys, and some bands we talk to like consider themselves a live band, and that's where they feel like they thrive. And some bands like, they're in the studio, they'll play out and they enjoy it. But do you guys consider yourself like one or the other, or both of
Yeah.
those things?
I guess most people would consider us as both. I, at my core, just see us as a like a recording or a studio band that seems to tour. Like the album is the most important thing for me. That's what I do with my life, and that's what gives me fulfillment. A lot of people get it from touring. I'm much more like, I tour so I can put that album out, and I just want to do that. But I mean, I'm pretty sick of doing albums after this one. I need a break, so I will turn into a live loving band for the next year or two. I really want to have a really good live set. So yeah, a bit of a hybrid. Who knows?
And I know you're hooked up with Magnetic Eye here in the States, and I guess worldwide, right? Magnetic Eye has that reach. How did you hook up with Jad and that crew to be part of the Magnetic Eye family?
Yeah, that happened pretty nicely and relatively organically, I think. Like, I don't know what came first, but when some of the Magnetic Eye bands would come to Australia, we toured with them, like Greenleaf and Dozer um, were some notable ones. And so I don't know, maybe Jad from Magnetic Eye had heard about us through that, and he actually approached us about doing a song for one of their Redux albums for the Soundgarden one, and then I'd just done Hail to the Underground for fun, that the covers album. So I was like, yeah, I'll do this cover. Hey, I've got a whole album of covers if you want to put it out. And so yeah, then we started on Blues Funeral with that, and then Jad also works for Magnetic Eye. So then the natural next step up was that, and it's a good relationship business-wise, I think, because we can just record covers for the Redux albums whenever they want, and they can put our record out.
I'm trying to remember which song did you do. Kickstand? Which Soundgarden song did you do? Kickstand?
Yeah,
Kickstand.
Kickstand. We generally wanna do the ones that are just bands go, "How the hell am I gonna do this?" So Kickstand was like a minute-long song, and we were like, "Let's make it a 6-minute thing." So yeah.
The best songs on those are the ones that go in the weird and different directions and the straight ahead covers. The that I'm trying to think of some of but like the Nine Inch Nails one was pretty interesting. That they
Mm.
did relatively recently too. There's some crazy stuff on there. Um, you're in Melbourne, right? Melbourne, Australia. Is that where you're located? This is our first Melbourne, Florida to Melbourne, Australia
Really?
conversation. I'm in Melbourne, Florida, so we couldn't be far enough away from each other, but somehow in the same city.
Yeah,
So
we're basically neighbors with names like that.
absolutely are. So I guess how is it working as a band in Australia with a US based label? Is it that connection still works for you? And it's a I know that there's a lot of different bands from Blue Funeral and Magnetic Eye who are kind of global, but how has that experience been?
Yeah, well, it's good. The Australia is so different to, you know, America, US, whatever, overseas. So I enjoy having an international label because, not to sound like jaded or anything, it's just the way it is. The rest of the world cares about Australian music a lot more than Australia does. Australia is just so passive with everything. It's not like they're cagey, it's just that they don't check their emails or answer their calls or whatever. So, like, I like being with an overseas label because they care and they get stuff done, and, I'm talking to you guys now, it's so good. Australia, you really just gotta hit redial every day in Australia, which is
That's
funny.
yeah,
That's a saying
it's
that I got from the US actually. When I was over there, I was waiting for a flight, and a fella next to me, it was in New York, he's waiting for his coffee, and he's just yelling at the woman behind the bar, "Where's my coffee? Is my coffee done?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah." He's like, "You forgot my order." And she's like, "I didn't." And they did forget his order. And when he gets his coffee, he turns to me and just goes, "You got to hit redial every day, every day." And I've never forgot that. You got to tell people twice so much.
oh,
So that's
lessons
Australia.
learned. And as a former New Yorker, your impersonation is excellent. I just want to level set that your New Yorker is wonderful. That is
Thank you, man.
an excellent story. Um, Tim, this has been amazing. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. The record is called Inexorable Opposites, which is hard to say, but once you start to say it, it flows very nicely. It's dropping on February 6th. And you said that there's a new single coming out, Seer, that comes out
Today.
sometime today, as in Wednesday, where
Oh,
you
right.
are. It's still Tuesday night here. So today, as in when I drop this tomorrow, it will be hopefully on your Bandcamp page for everyone to see and to hear and to listen to. It's the record is killer. Take it from Turbo and I. We really, really dig it. I think people are going to really, really dig it. I think people are going to dig how different and deep and heavy in all sorts of ways it is. So congratulations on the record. Keep in touch. Let us know what you're hearing feedback wise. We'll do the same. And please come and talk to us again. We'd love to have you on whenever you want to come talk to us.
Oh, unreal. Yeah, thanks for listening to that album, guys. That's huge for me. So, and
It's
for having me.
excellent. And thank you for doing that, and thank you for putting it out. And we love it. So we'll do everything we can to make sure everybody else hears it. Tim Coutts-Smith from Jack Harlon and the Dead Cross. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day as the time machine works, however it does in this world spins. So thank you, Tim.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, see you later, guys.
Thank you.
Nope.